All right, I'd like to invite up our men of the C-suite. We're welcoming Jim Horne, Cliff Lindholm, Dave Pearlmutter, and Rick Thigpen. Please come up to the stage, and your moderator for this amazing panel is our board chairwoman, Lori Roth. Let's have a round of applause.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another incredible panel, I think, full of some men who are going to give us some insightful, transparent, and upfront responses. The real topic for today was supposed to be championing change and the role of male advocates in advancing women on boards. So we talked about it, and we think we're going to expand it a little bit more than just on boards, but to talk about advancing women in leadership and C-suite roles as well, and even just advancing women in general, and the role of the men and these great guys who are part of the C-suite in their organizations. So I'm going to kick it off. We're going to talk about some of the challenges and some of the hurdles and some of the mindsets, I think, that lead to these things. And one of the topics that we're going to start with is leading by example and, to quote, be the change you want to see. And Rick's going to kick us off as far as that topic and how that relates to men advancing women.
He is? Okay.
Yes.
So good afternoon, everybody. So that quote, to me, it has lots of meaning and lots of application. Everybody's heard it from the gentleman they call the great souled one, the Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you wish to see in the world. And I have had a lot of experiences now in the business world, and the drive for excellence is very compelling, and the drive for success is very important. And the need for talent, people who can help accomplish complicated tasks and complicated missions. And it's a real fool's errand to believe that talent is reserved for one gender, one demographic group. And in fact, there is excellence in all types of people. We're here to talk specifically about women, and that means women. So for men, there's a challenge, and I think people are aware of it. On the one hand, there's the good talk of appreciating excellence, but men and women are not the same people, and it does require of men the ability to understand those differences and to tolerate differences. It does seem to be a human nature to want to have people like you around you. And so you have to understand the power of diversity. Being African American is very helpful in that, because I get the frequent experience of people who do not understand the power of diversity and who do not believe that talent is in every demographic, that who you are can dictate what your ability is. So I've learned to be sensitive about it. And then I've observed from experience the excellence that, in fact, many women can bring to work. But with that excellence comes some differences that have to be observed and respected and recognized as well, and that takes personal growth to do that. So being the change means being capable of growing yourself, being capable of understanding the differences between men and women, and understanding the importance of letting people with excellence participate regardless of who they are. And those obstacles out there are quite real. Those obstacles are not to be taken lightly, and the ability to personally grow and understand that no matter what your personal opinions may be, that there is talent to be harnessed and deployed to make yourself successful is something that not everybody's able to do, as some people are willing to admit. And I think it's a topic that we can talk a lot about, but I consider it extremely important that our future is going to be working together and respecting those differences. And those who read the news know that there's also a desire to go back to a different world where those respecting those differences, in fact, is not the journey that some people are on. So I think it's a great conversation to have. I think we'd be all making a mistake not to understand that these are real challenges and that personal growth is a part of it. Mm-hmm. And that the very simple but cliche statement that women have enormous talent and enormous abilities to contribute is where this journey starts.
Do you guys think that leading by example and showing people that you are open to helping to advance women and open to seeing their strengths and places they might have in your organizations, do you think that that helps at all?
Talk is cheap, and action speaks much louder than words. It absolutely is a essential requirement, not just articulating the words, but actually walking the walk.
I think that that is really important. Watch what I do, not what I say, right? And so especially as leaders in your organization, whether you're men or women, I think that how we act and how we behave is the behavior that people will then emulate.
Yeah, I'd just like to key off a point that you mentioned, Rick, and it's about personal growth for us in the C-suite. And, you know, it's been a part of my journey as the CEO and president of a small family business, 155 years old, to try and push myself and grow, because I have pictures of my dead relatives on the wall of the building, and all of them are men. But recently, I've had the pleasure of my wife coming to work with us and take a leadership role, and that has allowed me to really see and take action and understand the value of having women in leadership roles in a very traditionally male-dominated industry such as sheet metal manufacturing. And she's really helped us during some times of challenges and set a path forward. So that's, I think that's a really key point about action, Rick.
No, I agree. I think that that kind of leads us also into the topic about developing skill sets and abilities. And everybody has different strengths regardless of their background, and they all bring different points of view and a different diversity to the conversation, to the boardroom, to leadership, to the C-suite, whatever it is. So can you talk about some ways, and I think Cliff was going to start with this one, some ways that we can help to develop those skill sets in emerging leaders?
Yeah, I think, and it's been really wonderful the past couple of days to sit in on some of the breakout sessions. And I think, first off, the advice that was given in the sessions I was in to women who are early on in their career or even mid in their career about the things that they want to develop, skills such as optimism, you know, problem solving, and making sure you've got support systems, not only at work, but at home and in the industry. And what I think that in roles that we have, when we have opportunities to surround ourselves with women who exhibit those capabilities, we should take every opportunity to do that, because it's the diversity of opinion, the diversity of skills that really will allow an organization to be successful. And just want to add, serving on the board of NJBIA, I've been surrounded by a number of successful professional women, and Lori has done a great job of taking over as chairwoman of the board. She helped make my transition very easy out of that role. And I also sit on the board of a number of organizations, but most importantly, my own company and New Jersey Manufacturers. And we look at succession planning as a key aspect of making sure that we've got those skills and have women in succession roles that will give them the opportunity to advance.
I think this is probably a good one for you, Jim, right?
Well, I think one of the things that I really try to do is identify people on my team that have the talent, the drive, and the aspirations to succeed. Whether they be a male or a female, I really want to pour into those folks. And what I've found over the years is that if you have those ingredients, it's really just a matter of me as a leader cultivating your abilities to help you be successful. And whether it's within my organization or you move on to another organization, that's really the goal. And so I'm proud to see folks that have worked with me go on to run their own nonprofit organizations or entities. And I'm also proud to see people that I'm working with now develop and grow. And just being true to the fact that someone gave an opportunity to me, and how do I pay it forward with other people?
Oh, that's good. This kind of leads into mentorship as well. I think, David, you're going to give us some thoughts and ideas related to how we can help to mentor people who are arising in organizations.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to everyone. You know, when I was thinking about what I would say about mentorship, you know, when I was first evaluating kind of what I saw in all successful people that around the C-suite, what they have in common, what are the commonalities, you would think that, you know, some of the things around like intellectual curiosity, a lack of complacency, these folks really wanted to improve every day. But one other thing I saw that everybody that was one of my peers or around me was around that they all had mentors. They all had people that they trusted, that weren't within the company or were not within their chain of command, their management, that could help them out, tell them the truth, were as strong from an emotional intelligence as they were for just an intellectual intelligence, and that was embedded in everyone. And I think everyone on the stage probably has benefited from having mentors that have helped guide us at times where, you know, we had challenges, where we had a skill set that we needed to develop, but more importantly, that were just honest with us, and where sometimes we had gaps, and where we can improve it as leaders, as whatever we did in our professional development and so forth. And so I think going along with some of those things that were previously discussed about what's in your toolkit and being the change that you want to see, something that I would encourage everybody to do is to get a mentor and really be very, very thoughtful about who you think that mentor should be. I think that that person has to be someone that doesn't have direct managerial responsibility of you, because that could kind of blur the lines. I think it's someone that has, as I said, a lot of emotional intelligence, so they could see the things that are beyond the actual competencies of the job that can help you, shore up your skill set. And when you pick that person and they have to be willing to do it and they have to make that time commitment, I think it would really benefit, you in getting into these levels.
So one of the things that was mentioned earlier by Rick is something that we could talk a little bit more about, related to, I think people do tend to gravitate towards people who think like them, look like them, maybe are the same gender as them. I'm not sure. Like, where do you think that plays into this whole thing? Go for
Sounds
it.
like me. I think it's a very important part of this. My own personal experience is some people are threatened by differences, some people reject differences, some people don't want people with different perspectives around to cause them unnecessary inconvenience. Hence my comment about personal growth. I think it's normal. I noticed we have some very senior women at Public Service Enterprise Group, which I call public service, and I think there's a mix of motives, but there's also certainly a greater willingness of these women executives, very powerful positions, to hire women around them than there is for men to hire women around them, right? It is normal for someone who maybe is an Italian-American to like an Italian-American, someone who's black to like someone who's black, someone who is Catholic to like someone who's Catholic, all those kind of things. It's a very human thing. It's not to be judged, it is to be recognized. So it takes being purposeful about having decisions made with different perspectives included, which I think all the studies show. You make better decisions when you have a broad diversity of inputs. The better the information, the better the decisions come from it. And so fighting the personal demons is a part of this, and there's a very complicated set of personal demons when it comes to men and women's interaction, which is not always professional in the workplace, which I guess we'll get to. Maybe I'll throw that in at the end. But that's something that women, especially climbing the ladder, have to navigate. I don't have a lot of useful advice on that, but it's worth observing that it's a real part of the challenge that you all have to face. There's no question about it. But people like that, people around them, and if the boss is a man and you're not a man, hopefully the boss is able to understand the value of having people different than them, but it's certainly not always the case.
I think that this comes back to having diverse perspectives and to being open as leaders to hear what people have to say and to take that input and implement it into something that's going to be beneficial and really be creating an opportunity. So I guess you can talk a little bit more as men in the C-suite, how you can be open to that, and also maybe to advise some of the women as to how they could point those things out to leaders to demonstrate what the advantage is of having the diverse point of view.
It's a very tough burden to put on the women.
No, I'm putting it on you.
Well, I think one of the things, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
one of the things that I try to do is understand that I do have my own lens of how I look at things, and trying to not make that limit how I interact with people. So I think it's really important to understand that men, women, yes, we're different. And we have different demands in our lives, different priorities. And as you look at and find the person with time, enthusiasm, and talent, how do you ensure that their norms and their values are appreciated and included in your decision-making process? Because it's not the same day, it's not the same priorities. We're not going to talk about football, maybe. Well, Ashley, we will. But
As long as we're not talking about the Giants.
yeah. But ultimately, being willing to understand and to grow as a leader, to expand my understanding of how people need to interact and to be able to be successful, I think is really important in allowing us to bring other people on board and help them grow and be successful.
Yeah, one of the things that I was going to say was that, being in a leadership role in an organization, whether it's my company or on the boards that I sit, I feel that sometimes the expectation is placed on me and men in that role to be decisive, make the decisions, set the direction, do all of these things that are stereotypical. And so the challenge that I think I have, and I think we have as men who are looking to create opportunities for women to come on to these leadership positions, is to get outside our comfort zone and really recognize that you have to set those feelings that you have to be the decisive person, you have to be the strong voice, but take other opinions and also look through your own lens, but expand that vision so that you can see people who have participated in a conference like this one and gotten the advice to expand their network, grow themselves so that they become the ideal candidate for those positions.
Yeah, and I would just add that, I think we all as leaders need to seek to understand what are the challenges a little bit more. I think that I never really understood this. Like, most of the people that reported to me were women. They were the most qualified for the job. They did the job in an outstanding manner. I think that they could easily take my job. I think they could go higher than what I'm at. And I just didn't understand, because I never had a compromise on who I hired to be on my team based on a skill set. They were just the best. And what I didn't understand a little bit, and I learned a little bit through marriage too, my wife and I met at the Naval Academy. She was an officer in the military and now is a director at a company, in a multi-billion-dollar company, the one that I work at. And she said that it's really not about the challenges of like possessing the skills or the leadership or dealing with that stuff. I mean, there are challenges that all of us face, her no different. I think that what she exposed to me is the need to be like perfect at everything, right? The need that men are given more, leniency and grace to make mistakes, and we're not characterized when we make that mistake, or we have a certain personality type or something like that. And candidly, if you look at it through that lens as a male, you see how ridiculous it is, right? Like, you see how, when someone's aggressive as a male, they get labeled as such, a decisive leader perhaps, and when someone's aggressive as a female, they might be labeled differently. And I think that what you really have to understand is that I don't think the burden is on finding qualified folks and saying, oh, well, we have to make it a certain demographic or something like that. There's so many, it's not even funny. Some of the best employees at my company are for sure women. And I think it's on showing a little bit of grace of that we all have balance sheets. We all have things that we do really well. We all have some things that we wish we could do a little bit better. And having some grace that when that's displayed by someone that's not like you, do you sit there and not characterize that or make it like an archetypal moment and just say, oh, that's just something that we need to work on?
I think that some of this also has to do with giving people a platform to display what it is that they're capable of and what those strengths are and what those advantages are that they could bring to the role. Because I think we talked about this when we were having our meeting ahead of time. It's not really about hiring a woman or somebody of some diversity just for the numbers. It's to get the best candidates, right? And to get the best people in the room and to get the different perspectives in the room. And I think if we can give platforms that help them to display what those are, then that gives an advantage. And one of the things that we talked about, I think Jim's going to talk a little bit about having either junior boards or advisory boards or committees of people, whether it's a suggestion box or whatever it is, to give people the ability to illustrate what those things are that they can bring.
Thank you for that. So, Junior Chief in New Jersey, we have a governance board of about 45, 50 people. And when I came on board, I realized, what are these other three things that we have here? So we have regional boards. And my predecessor, Catherine, had a great idea of connecting people that were moving up in the organization to an opportunity to be on the board. So we've really been very deliberate about going to our corporate partners and our state board members and asking them to identify folks within their organization that can serve on our regional boards as an opportunity to understand how boards work, but ultimately to really be able to showcase their skill set and support an organization. And again, going back, it's not male or female specific, but it's whoever those folks represent. And when I look at my regional boards, I do see a great deal of diversity, male and female, and really excited about that. And perhaps all of those folks that are on our regional boards might not make it to the state board, but they'll go on to serve other nonprofit organizations. And so we really feel that by allowing folks to understand the structure of boards, we're contributing to the growth of the individual and also the community.
So that's something also that you guys can recommend or suggest as a way to start to enter the room, if you will. There's also the ability to start committees or suggestion boxes or things like that in order to start to get your voice heard if it's not already. In terms of male leadership, I think, are there ways that you think that you could get it across to the people in your organizations in terms of being open to helping to advance women?
Well, I think clearly one of the main ways we try and do it is set the example, right? And for women in their career who are looking to gain that pathway to senior leadership roles, try and identify the individuals within your organization that do exhibit that do set the example. I think, one of the takeaways I took from one of our sessions here, and it rings very true, is you want to surround yourself with good people. So you want to find those individuals who will surround themselves with good people and look for individuals who can take that opportunity and shine. I think that's really, the big challenge. And again, getting out of the comfort zone. Find people who are willing to get out of their comfort zone.
David, in your mentorship experience, are there things that you look for people who you want to mentor?
That want to mentor or want to receive mentorship?
Yeah, to choose who you would want to mentor.
Yeah, so I think that the way that we do it is I'm an analytic, so we do a lot of stuff on people that want to be mentored, like kind of submit questionnaire type of thing of what they're seeking in mentorship, what they're trying to develop, and then we try to kind of come up with a match to whether within the department or within the company broadly that we think would best serve to if you have someone that's very introverted and they want to do better at public speaking or something like that, someone that's a leader within the company that can kind of address that. In terms of just going back to just one quick question that was just talked about setting the example, I think that another thing that's helpful is just to be consistent. So I think that there's a lot of, right now, everybody knows that there's politics involved and a climate that kind of is binary. They're saying that you're either inclusive and want to embrace diversity of thought and so forth, or that's not a meritocracy on the other end, and saying that anytime you hire someone that's not a white male, that you're doing it for reasons that are not about merit, and that's kind of what's being embraced. And so, to me, it's important on leaders to be consistent throughout the time, so it doesn't seem like that you fall into any of that camp. I mean, honestly, like, I don't understand one of the camps, so I'm not going to address that. But it's just very clear throughout the year if leaders are consistent and they're talking about why people are valued regardless of their makeup, and they're always rewarding good work. To me, it's going to play into itself, in that you're going to see a lot of people advance, and it's going to be great opportunities for women because you see so many great examples of good work.
That makes sense. So I think one of the other things that we've talked about is kind of getting out of your comfort zone, and I think that works both ways, right? I think it works for you guys, and I think it works for you guys. So sometimes you have to push yourselves, and maybe you could talk a little bit about ways that you have to push yourselves in terms of maybe being more open or whatever those challenges are.
Please call us out, okay? When we've
You all
got...
heard that, right?
Yeah,
You
in
all
a
heard
nice
that?
way. But I got to tell you, I mean, again, I grew up in a family business that was run by my father, by his father, by, another relative that started 155 years ago, and, I've kind of was given development along those very narrow lines. And, quite honestly, sometimes, my brain isn't working. I just need to be called out on things. And so my suggestion, my plea is, if, you see somebody in this role, call them out in a nice way, point them out in a nice way, but that will help get them out of their comfort zone. So
Now that's a good guy, right?
I think one of the things for me was to realize I needed to be approachable by my team, and that really took some work on my because I'm really a charger. Here's the plan, execute the plan, but that didn't give room for people to approach me and ask questions or to share with me what was on their mind. So when I started having folks come into my office and say, "Hey, can you talk to me about my career and how I can move ahead, and what do you think, and give me some advice," I felt that was kind of a tipping point for me, that people felt comfortable enough to come to me, and my team come to me, whether they were my direct report or not, to have that discussion. And so being able to be viewed as someone that you could approach and have a real conversation with, I think is really important for not only for me, but for the folks that I work with. So that I'm really kind of excited about how that's been working out so far.
Yeah, I think I would just add that, like, not everybody's at the same spot in terms of this issue. And so there are some times where maybe I would have been hesitant to praise somebody because they always do consistently good work, right? And then you realize that some people at the table need to hear that praise of others to recognize that those folks are doing good work. And so I think I'm very deliberate of realizing that it's not even, and that sometimes you need to be very, very, very purposeful in how you advocate for your people, particularly the women on your staff.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to open up to questions. If anybody out there has any questions that they'd like to ask any of these people. Maybe? Okay. I'm not sure if the mic is on.
Oh?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'll start again. My name is Vaishnavi. I work at NJM Insurance Company. Thank you so much for this panel. It's been great. One question I have is, what is one piece of advice or constructive feedback that you have received in your career that kind of got you to where you are today?
Just one.
Boy, is that tricky.
It's rough.
Wow. Certainly the courage to be yourself at work is advice that is very tricky but very important. It's really much harder to succeed as someone else. I'd start there, but it does take courage, and I hope everybody recognizes that it takes courage to be yourself at work. Certainly advice of servant leadership, the idea of using your leadership opportunity to develop other people and to make sure that you are focused on other people's success, not your own. And then there's that old cliche advice of you can accomplish a lot of things if you don't want the credit, which I think is also very important. And I think I'd emphasize servant leadership to have the most long-lasting impact of all of those, the willingness to have to develop others, not just focus on your own best interests at work. Anyone else?
Sure. We should all have the challenge of trying to do one. I think it's, there's so many that we can give, so I'm going to fail at this exercise and just give two. One is a bit trite, but I just want to say, like, leaders are looking for other leaders that they can trust in a room. And so I think that when everybody reports to somebody, whether you're on the C-suite or you're chair or you're the CEO, you report to the board, like, you report to someone and they want to feel that they can trust that you're going to be professional, competent, concise, everything in the room so being able to be trusted in a room. And the second one is realize that I think you said something that was related to this, like that you will do very, very well if your people do well. And the thing that there's only a bit old school about this, but when I lose weight, I carry something in my wallet and it has like the number now. It just went from 101 to 104, but I've had 104 people that have worked for me that have gotten promoted, and it's something that I keep track of all the time, and it's the most important metric that that I have, and I think that you can worry about your career a little bit less if the people that you lead are doing incredible things, and it will just kind of work out for you.
One of the things that has helped me in a piece of advice is to have sort of your own personal board of directors. So 3, 4, 5 people, similar to what you said, right? 3, 4, 5 people that you can reach out to and speak with, that will give you open, honest feedback, give you encouragement, help pick you up when you're down, but also make sure that they're honest with you on areas that you need to work on and need to improve. And I found that through some formal groups, whether it's like Vistage or the Chief Executive Network, and then also with individuals within our industry that might be able to rely on for that kind of advice. So a personal board of directors would be my advice.
I think the one for me is, as a leader, understanding that if we fail, we all fail. If we succeed, we all succeed. And really not getting involved in the blame game. Ultimately, I know it's my responsibility at the end of the day, but celebrating successes as a team and talking about challenges and how we overcome them as a team, I think has been really an important part of how I've been able to work through and build successful teams.
Nice. That's really great. Any other questions?
Yes. First, I'd like to say thank you for this conference. This is helping everyone grow, and especially me. For me to be able to stand up in front of all these people, I feel very comfortable in this room, and I do not feel comfortable standing up in front of everyone normally. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. My name is Christine Minium. I'm from Prime Point. I'm not shy. I just don't like this many eyes on me. But I wanted to say, you all are lovely gentlemen, and who's the one person you can each attribute that genuine quality that you all portray?
There's only one answer here, my wife. So I think, I don't know, we're supposed to say that first.
Don't say I'm not going to say that, but I will say my mom and my aunt, they were it for me. They really helped me develop character and passion. So.
Yeah. No, I lean on my wife for a lot of support, but equal to that was my dad, who I worked with for many years, and really in a family business, you have to rely on your family. And so now I have my wife and my son with me in the business, and I have my relatives before me.
So let's get this on first off. So I'm the father of 3 daughters. That's having an enormous impact on me. Absolutely enormous. I would also add to that. In fact, I can't say how much of an impact that's having on me. I can't say enough. Is my parents, my father and my mother, certainly made me the person I am. And then I had I'll throw in a mentor. I had a second father I'm lucky to have, and he was he was a politician, so some of you heard him. His name was Donald Payne. And he set a real standard for me on how to behave myself and what public service means and what it means to be interested in service to the public and service to other people.
Okay. We have another one here.
Lori. Okay, this is Daring Greatly. I have a question, and I think you guys are great, and I love the fact that you are leaders that are stepping up and showing up and doing all the right things, right? You're modeling the behavior, you're looking at people for the value that they bring to the table. So my question is, obviously you're modeling the behavior, but do you have any thoughts on how you could help or what advice you would give to companies to be able to bring it down throughout the levels, right? So what I'm trying to say is that you guys get it, right? But not everyone in all of the organizations get it, right? So what can you do as leaders to help those that don't get it? Does that make sense?
Unfortunately, it makes a lot of sense, yes. I am an African-American executive at Public Service Enterprise Group, and I do witness people who don't get it in a variety of ways, who based on their own values, reject differences in expertise, and also who don't think women belong, that it's complicated to have women in the workplace, or certainly at the senior level. And one of the most difficult challenges is how do you deal with colleagues who don't get it? It's easy to stay quiet, it's easy to mind your own business. It is a very challenging leadership job to be constructive in pushing change in ways that you believe that others don't believe in. So you opened a very complicated box, and some of us have to have the courage of our convictions to carry this through. I actually genuinely believe in equality, and I've had enough experience to teach me the dangers of those who think there's something besides equality to believe in. I know it now down to the bone marrow. And it does take courage. You do get hostility for doing it, and not everybody is open to being corrected or educated by you as a colleague, and there's some very big challenges. So then what do you do when you see them unable to hire, in this case, women, but for my case it goes beyond that demographically? And that's a really complicated answer to give. Sometimes you have courage and sometimes you don't, would be an honest answer. But I believe that my company will be better as that march to equality continues, and that who you are and how you perform, or how you perform, is more important than who you are. And that's that journey for a wise guy like me is very much like a journey down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and that it really takes some courage. And so I'd be false to say I have all the courage in the world. I'm aware of the challenge. It's unfortunately, very much a part of my being executive at this particular company. It's not by any means isolated to my company. And we live in a society with people who have very different ideas, and we're all to be treated equally. And even when the studies about performance of diverse teams and how different people lead to profitability, the opposition to it is profound and enormous. And some people want to punish you for pursuing equality and the ideas of equality. So it's for everybody in this room to help carry this torch and have a little courage, and for us to, I'll say again where Lori started, is to be the change we want to see in the world. And have no mistake, that's something for the brave, not for the scared. And that's not totally fair, because some people have financial pressures and other pressures in life where being brave at work is not the appropriate thing. So I use that as an inspirational word, not as a judgment word, because there are real reasons some people choose not to speak in certain scenarios at work, because I'll pick on Cliff because he's the CEO on the panel, because the boss doesn't want it, right? And in corporate America, like in politics, it's all about power. And if the boss doesn't want it and you want it, you got to be careful. And the boss may not like it at all. So, I'll stop.
It's tough to stay quiet on that topic, so I'm just going to add a little bit, but I think your answer pretty summed it up well. I think that I'm going to be a little bit of contrarian and just say that, you know, we have to step back and not demonize the people that are slower on this journey. Like, what you have to do is kind of play chess, not checkers. If they're resistant to things that are common sense of just getting the best people in those positions and realizing that as often case are women or folks, you know, then find out what they value and then show that the best candidate is doing all the things that they value. And so I think we've all been confronted in our careers with places where that are a little bit hesitant, resistant to change, or hesitant to do things. You find out what that person thinks is the most important thing, and then you consistently show that this candidate, wherever it is, displays those most important qualities. It's how can the person resist it? When we demonize those folks, I think that they'll continue their resistance. And so, you know, I think it's easy. Obviously, somebody chose us to be on these boards, so we're like, you know, you're preaching to the choir with us. But I think the folks that aren't there, we kind of just have to guide them to the right spot, you know, and it's difficult. I don't want to say that it's not difficult, but I think it's doable. I'm pretty optimistic that folks want good people on teams, and often those people are women.
I think it kind of comes to maybe attracting a little bit more with honey, right? So instead of going after the person with the bias or the wrong point of view, maybe you highlight the examples of the success of people who made the right one. I think David said it earlier on, to give credit where credit is due, and sometimes to verbalize that in front of some of the people that don't have that point of view. So I thank you all for being here and for joining this panel. Let's give them a good round of applause.
And thank you, Lori, for a great job moderating.
Thank you.
Great job, Lori.
Yeah, a courageous discussion, and it just, it really reminds me that this room can be twice as big and should be filled with twice as many people, and we should continue to have this discussion at 3 times this level, because getting all the diversity of opinion in a room and the idea of, yes, it was said, I think, that, you get put on these panels for a reason, because what did I talk about the formula for success again? You hear it again and again. There's a reason why people are sitting up here, because they have a lot in common, because they're exceptional leaders and they get it. Whether they're women or they're men, they get it, right? And we will continue to be infectious with our passion to bring along more and to develop more, and we can continue to do that together. Gentlemen, thank you so much, and Lori, thank you.